Hello, everyone. Welcome back in. Betsperts Golf here for our first look at the Sony Open. Coming off of, I don't know, kind of what we expected there at Kapalua. Andy, what's going on, buddy?
Yeah, I know. I guess I could lean back and be like, well, Colin and Matsuyama were in my top 10 of my model, but I don't know how you would have made one where they weren't. Like, it's not like I did something special, based on their skill sets, I guess, unless you really, really downweighted putting, which, or upweighted putting, I suppose, which I'm not sure is ever a good idea, even in a putting contest like that. So 35 under last week, and it's a sharp U-turn this week because we don't have these massive fairways. I mean, the biggest things are, hey, we're still in Hawaii. It's the same thing. Not really. Like, you can't just bomb this. Like the first, Barry Horse talks about this. He bets some golf too. Hates the first hole at Kapalua. So he's the dumbest. He says everybody should just be able to walk down the fairway, pick a spot in the rough at the end of the fairway, and put their ball there. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what that is. There's some of these holes where it's just like, where everyone's ball is going. Like if you screw this hole up, maybe just get on a plane. You're not good enough anyway. But not a full field, but a bigger field, and similar agronomy. It's Bermuda grass across the board, but like I've been alluding to a little bit, skinnier fairways, tight tree-lined corridors a little bit, dog legs that you can't really cheat on. So it isn't going to be able to be bombed. And yeah, it's going to come down to a little more to, shot selection, a little more second shots have to be better. The greens and regulation here isn't above average. It's still hard to hit these greens. And, the score is probably going to be somewhere in the 10 range instead of 30, not 30, 35. Jesus Christ.
Are you offended by the 35s? People are offended by the 35s.
Not really. It is what it is. It's just like, what are you going to do? Oh, we should make it a 72. Like, oh, so it's a 31. Like,
right.
Oh no. Like you really fixed it. You can't make major changes to a resort course that are going to turn it into a tough stop. I guess you could make it like a 70. You take away all the par fives and, three of them. And
they're definitely making it a 72 next year. They're definitely turning that 5.
It probably should be a 72, but I mean, if you really want to fix it, you make it a 70. You roll the piss out of the greens to try to make them faster. You don't want to. I don't think not watering works in tropical climates. Like it just rains. Ever been to Hawaii? It rains every day. It doesn't rain hard. It doesn't rain long, but it rains every day. Like I don't think you can like dry the course out. Everything else is like planting trees, growing the rough in, growing the rough up, I guess, but still it is what it is. It's just how you start the year. We're fine with it. We're moving on. We're on a course where it's going to be more of a reasonable score, and you have a big old field. So you have a bunch of guys to choose from here.
Yeah, we have, somewhat of a dying trend. I mean, it depends on any trends are like this, right? When you hop on, depends on how long it's going to ride. There was a previous trend that's been bucked by Siwoo and by Grayson Murray last year around success at Sony has been predicated by teeing it up the previous week at the Century. Very interesting thoughts around this. It's a combination of, and this actually kind of folds into why I think there's a pretty strong course history here at Walleye as well. It's not because, in my opinion, there's any specific advanced nuances to playing at Walleye that you need to have just reps after rep to figure out and navigate. It becomes a matter of, well, you have a little bit of the competitive reps under, your sail comparatively. And then, I don't know, it used to be the Tournament of Champions, and it's still literally like the best field that a PGA Tour, Scotty aside, can put together. So yeah, those guys are going to probably have some success the following week, where the made the cut rate is like north of 80% for guys that play in the Sony if they played the previous week at the Kapalua. And I think it was 8 out of 10 heading into last year. So now 8 out of 11 previous Sony winners had played the previous week. So yeah, we have a couple instances, like I said, with Siwoo and Grayson, where that's that trend is dying a little bit. So it's not necessarily something that I'm trying to hone in on this week. Just like I said, I think there's just some predictability. It's more descriptive than predictive, I guess, is kind of why that.
Yeah, and with the big change to the Tournament of Champions no longer being, that field was sometimes small if you had a few guys who won multiple times, and
Sure.
it wasn't a big field. Whereas now there's 60 golfers, and it does become different. You're probably going to see some of the guys that played there skip it now. I mean, some have TGL commitments. Like,
Sure.
there's guys that went from Kapalua to Florida for that. So
Yeah,
not everyone does play in this. Some people just head to the West Coast. And obviously our champion from last week, Matsuyama's in the field. He is your favorite. Don't think that's a click anybody can make, should make, wants to make. Like, you're going to depend on that putter to stay hot for 2 weeks straight in a bigger field on a tougher course, I guess, but not at 10-1. The rest of the top of the board, Corey Connors, Russell Henley, Tom Kim, Keegan Bradley, Benny On, Bobby Mack, Maverick McNeely, Siwoo, Poston, Clanton, Thigala. That's kind of your 40 and below. I guess Straka and Davis Thompson are there as well.
Yeah, decent fields. I've had some success here. Maybe success is all relative. I did get Siwoo home a couple years ago, and then I've had the other 3 years in the last 4. I've had the runner-up. So maybe it's an each-way play for me, but I was in on Keegan last year when he lost in the 3-man playoff. That beautiful 40-foot putt from Grayson, which everyone is just cheering on either their Keegan or their Benny Ann tickets, and then Grayson absolutely destroys us with that putt. I obviously had Russell Henley when he was chased down by Decky a couple years ago, and I had Joaquin Niemann here a few years ago as well. Rest in peace. So, it's just an event that I feel I like. I like handicapping these types of events. I think there's some predictability in terms of the ball striking, some of the things that matter here. Looking at the stats page, we've seen there's the 2020 year. I'll pull this up here on the screen for us too. That kind of jumps out because it was the windy year, Andy. And there's some early reports this could be another windy year for us here. And I think that would play very different. You can see here 2020, Cam Smith won at 11 under. And you could see here when you go to the off the tee course metrics, driver usage here, 48%, really driving down the rolling average here, because this actual data, I think, flies in the face a little bit of the perception that this is a club down positional track. I think we've seen a little bit more increased driver usage. Again, if you take out this 2020 year where there was wind. Now, again, we might have this year be more of the 2020 because of what we see coming on the weather. So we have to wait and see, as on a Tuesday morning comparatively. But
I mean, it's not to say it's not a club down course. It's just not. It's not a everybody's clubbing down. What's the course where it's like JTU's driver once all weekend or something? It's not going to be one of those where we're constantly hitting stingers and 3-woods. It is below average. You can see the tour average 68%, and then our 5-year rolling is 61.9. So it's below average. And like you said,
that's
that
being
48%
so
is
driven, right?
it's dragging it down. But the last 3 years, it's been slightly below average. So it's not. I don't think it is probably being pushed a little too much with some of these. I talked about off the top the dog legs, the importance of accuracy. I think there's some guys that are just accurate enough with their drivers where they're fine hitting it.
Yeah. Because you've seen, if you can handle it and take on some of these things, some of these dog legs, it's okay to be with a lofted gap wedge, just off the first cut a little bit. They did grow the rough up a little bit last year, which I think is something to watch for as well. But, I do think, to your point, accuracy does matter in the sense that, again, great distance from the edge of the fairway week where, we want to make sure that you're not in the thick stuff. You're going to keep the ball in play. You're going to have these spots where you maybe run out of fairway based on the dog leg. the approach shot distribution tells that story as well, right? So this is the glaring one right here. 150 to 175 spiked up comparatively over the tour average about 8%, which is pretty substantial. When you're looking at how these things kind of play themselves out, there's nothing else that's really even close except fewer really short shots like we had last week, where you had that like around the green / 50 to 60 yard approach because these such short rolling 400-yard drives. You have more middle irons back this week too, in that 150 to 175 bucket. Again, I'm always reluctant to really give a ton of weight to a specific distribution range, but I think this one shows out that it does matter comparatively, and far fewer 200+ yard approach shots as well.
Yeah, this is it's going to be tough to pick out there are a lot of good ball strikers. There's a lot of guys that are decent with their middle irons too. So I think it's one of those where there's going to be a lot of times people put cards out and I look at guys they've bet and like, I can't agree with that. Like, I have no idea what you see in this guy, but yeah, I think there's a huge swath of the field where it's like, I can see that. I can see this guy.
Yeah.
And obviously I tweeted it out the other day. I went and found, we're in year 2 of me getting to use like a good tool that's saving my old models. I used to save my old models in spreadsheets and stuff, and then I'd have to go dick around and be like, did I name it the right thing? But I pulled up my Sony model from last year, and a lot of it was, looking at that ball striking, that approach from a couple of those middle range buckets, looking at driving accuracy. So I think probably, honestly, maybe I don't need to build a new one. I'll look at it and maybe decide if I want to play with some other stuff. But a lot of the stuff I was kind of focused in on, it looks like I did use in last year's model, and I might just roll with that. It does love Ben Griffin. So, I mean, who am I to argue with that?
Yeah. I think hard to make, there's a handful of guys that's just really hard to make a model that I think is worth its weight at all.
Yeah.
And have those guys not be near the top of the list. I think you could see some, from a DFS standpoint, people like to play DFS lineups with their, outrights. I think there could be some pretty natural chalk positions here this week based off of, some of the course history stuff, some of the data stuff. I think people are going to be leaning on that quite a bit as well. So you want to see some of the course history stuff too. You can find that here as well on our tools page. You can go into the tournament cheat sheet. Great resource too. You're going to get, some rolling form of these guys. You're going to get some of their recent finishing positions here. And if you scroll all the way over under the pink tab here, course history. And again, it's a spot where you've seen it be a little bit more predictive. Data Golf has that cool tool where, it lets you understand where it's more predictive than others. Again, I think it's probably, hard to argue with the data, but I think it's pretty noisy in terms of why we're there. So not something that I'm leaning a ton in this week. So let's build a couple of throw a couple metrics in a model and then deep dive some of those and see where we're at. So I'm going to lean on you a little bit because you haven't built anything new, but where are your inclinations to start?
Yeah, like we said, how do you approach driving accuracy? Driving accuracy is important, but there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, as we always say. And I don't know if you want to just use straight up accuracy, if we want to use good drives gained, if you want to use fairways, distance from the edge of the fairway. There's so many different ways to look at that. And, what do you think the best one is here based on, what we've already said about this course?
The answer is never driving accuracy.
It's never driving accuracy.
The answer is never driving accuracy.
It's just like, that's just fairways hit. Honestly, like some of these stats sound a little fancier than they are at times, but it is just how many times did you hit the fairway on the 4s and the 5s?
Yeah.
Whereas, I like good drive percentage. I think that matters a little more. That tells you, you can hit a ball, especially on a dog leg. What if you're hitting it to the inside of the dog leg, but you're, an inch off the second cut there? It's like, well, that's in the fairway, but you have a terrible shot from there. You needed to hit to the right side of the fairway where you have a nice open shot to the green. That's where maybe good drive percentage is a little better on a spot like this. Let's say it's a place where accuracy matters, but it's just because it's straight and narrow. It's not the case here with all the dog legs. So good drive percentage is probably your best bet at a place like this where, that second shot is heavily predicated on positioning for the first one.
Yeah, I like good drive percentage. You can sell me on good drive percentage on very short courses. This is, a unique iteration of that too, because it's going to give you a little bit more of the, without doing the proximity, distribution range thing. It's going to give you a little bit of that naturally because you're, building in some of those shorter holes. So yeah, good drive percentage, distance from the edge of the fairway. Again, far, far, far superior stats to driving accuracy, because Andy was pointing out there, accuracy, binary yes, no, fairway hit versus being in the woods and being an inch off the fairway.
I think it's a nice one to look at for a long term, just like if you're comparing two golfers.
Sure.
Rather than comparing a whole field of golfers and you're looking for DFS, if you're looking for outrights, like if you're trying to compare two guys and there's a big gulf there where it's like this guy, it's just not his bag. He's a bomber, but he's very inaccurate compared to someone else.
Yeah.
Maybe a good way to pick a matchup bet.
Good call. Yeah. You can look at the discrepancy of some of these things too, right? Like I like to see where there's a big gap. Sam Ryder, 29th in driving accuracy, 87th in distance from the edge of the fairway. So Sam's misses are big. When he tends to miss, he is going to be keeping himself far to play. I think Tom Kim is kind of the opposite. He's not so far down on accuracy actually, but distance from the edge of the fairway, second in this field. So he's keeping himself in play off the tee. I always go back to Scotty. So Scotty in Houston at the Memorial Park, where he was 90th in driving accuracy, first in distance from the edge of the fairway. So like what we're trying to do that week, that would have been a very, very bad way to go about it. So I put
if he misses to the right of the fairway, his feet were on the fairway for every shot.
Correct.
It's 3 blades of grass into the cut.
Yeah, not telling you the right story there with accuracy alone. Okay, this is our good drive percentage I have in as our first anchor. What do you want to do? Anything just strokes gain in general? You want to do any tee to green, any approach? You want to do anything with like condition wise, like shorter courses or anything like that?
I mean, if you did want to use putting, you'd probably look at Bermuda only.
Okay.
If you ask like, hey, is there which spots have Bermuda grass on this course? The answer is yes. Like it is across the board, everything, fairways, rough, greens, collars, everything, tee boxes. So, I mean, if you want to put in some Bermuda putting, see who's been good on that, you can. That's something that, you want to look at a bigger sample size for. So maybe a couple of years of Bermuda putting. I don't know how you feel about the around the green here. Maybe that's something that comes into a little more into play than last week, considering the difficulty of greens and regulation and the fact that people are going to be missing these greens, whereas last week you just didn't miss greens. Like it's going to be a little challenging too, because there are some, like you said, they grew the rough out. If you're missing it, it's it's target golf.
Let's see, where's our from the rough data here, just to see. So greens and reg from the fairway here, again, right around a little higher than field average or tour average. Again, going back to the 2020 year, kind of as a outlier there. Everything else is a little bit above average. Nothing that jumps out where like, around the green is like something that I'm trying to jam in. You could sell me on like short game, strokes gain short game, like short game Bermuda, because that's another thing too. Like hearing some of these guys talk about surfaces and how they care about that. Like they care more about chipping on Bermuda, I think, than even putting on Bermuda, because you get some of those wonky Bermuda, grabbers. So let's do that. I'm gonna put all the green or all the grass surfaces as Bermuda. And then let's look at strokes gain short game. So we're getting a combination of putting and around the green, because we don't love weighing putting too much. I know neither of us love that. So
I don't love weighing around the green. So like combining them. Yeah. So SGSG is, like you said, it's combined putting in around the green. And those sample sizes are little because there's not a ton of courses where it's Bermuda, triple Bermuda, Bermuda cubed. Here we're getting samples up in the 50s. This is kind of nice. Be interesting to see who's number one. Brenton. Oh, Ben Griffin. Weird.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks good for Ben
Let's see how
Griffin.
he doesn't win by 5. Gagger's up there. These are all our guys.
Yeah, this has been a model like I didn't do this in my model, but I do like this. I think it's interesting. A lot of the guys that I just love to bet every week are modeling quite well. So yeah, let's take a look at this. I think this is a solid sample. There's some small sample for some guys, but a lot of these guys are kind of right in the mix. It's interesting to take a look at. I don't need to build the same model I already built. That's why we're doing this. This is
SG Bermuda.
Bermuda. All right. It's a little bit of short game, a little bit around the green, a little bit of putting. We'll reset that back. And all right, we did some off the tee. We did some around the green short game. We haven't done anything in approach or really tee to green at all. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, if you want to do some mid-range, do you want to do some ranges?
Let's do some ranges.
An approach?
Yeah.
It's like three quarters of the shots are kind of in that mid-range.
Sure. And we can change the range, or the weights a little bit more to that key bucket here. Now, when you look at overall approach proximity, a new ad for us this year in the view section, typically last year was just broken down between fairway and rough. You have tighter bands to look at in the fairway and rough proximity distributions. So just be aware of that too. So like right here, I just have overall 150 to 200. But if I want to see fairway 150 to 175, which you saw on the core stat sheet is, more relevant, you can do that as well. So that's also out there for you.
I think that's the range I want, though. I want that 150 to 200. And let's put a minimum rounds in because we're getting Ricky Castillo here with he's our leader with a Ricardo. 2-round sample size. Actually, undo that quick. I want to see something. Now that I've got like the model loading. Yeah, it's thinking. It's like
it never takes this long, and then you said you want to do something different. There you go.
Just click on Ricky. I want to see where he played. I want to see where he excelled so greatly that he's at the top of our model for this one. I don't know who Ricky Castillo is.
Unaware as well. Let's find out.
Yeah, I wonder if this one's doing like math in the background. This one takes a little longer to load. All right, so sort by overall 150 to 200 in the approach, and then click on Ricky Castillo.
I'm guessing we don't have a picture for Ricky.
Valspar.
Okay.
And the U.S. Open. I'm guessing we're not pulling in that U.S. Open from 2020, but guy crushed it. And look at that. Overall proximity from 150 out, that first round, 20 feet. Overall average. Ricky, got to hand it to you. You did something wrong, though, because there's no Valspar. There's no Valspar round 3 nor round 4.
Yeah.
Interesting enough.
Something went sideways
something went sideways with the putting. So we're going to set that to get rid of the Rickies and the, Max McGreevy's of the world. We're going to set it to a 20-round minimum. Again, last 12 months, overall approach proximity. And, yeah, let's just, as soon as it pops up, add that 150 to 200. We'll see who's tops. Kurt Kitayama, Lucas Glover, Ryder, Norlander, and the Eck Goat. Oh, Eck Goat and the Gim Reaper. 5 and 6. Theodore Bjornsson, your guy. Luke Clanton, a lot of people love him this year. Mac Meisner, Joel D.
Yeah, imagine not loving the kids. We gotta love the kids here. All right, overall procs, and we are 150 to 200. That's the key bucket. I want to take it a step further. We're going to go into fairway, and we're going to add the 150 to 175 because I think that shows in the data that that's the most important one. That is the one that has the largest gap between where we are on a typical tour average event. We'll do the same thing. We'll keep our 20 rounds, and you see some commonalities. You see some other names that are populating this list. Thor at the top, Kitayama again, Luke Clanton, gentleman by the name of Keegan Bradley, who I'm familiar with. Joel Damon, the return of the Mac, Doug Gim, Griot, Bud Cauley, Sam Ryder. Yeah, it's a good list. It's a good list of good golfers. So fairway, 150, 175. We can mess around with
reverse sort that quick. I want to see who's bad.
Yeah,
I always do
I
that.
like it.
Don't you always do this? Don't you want us to use like
Always.
terrible?
1000%.
Toasty. Mac Hughes, Luke List. Some of this is a little goofy, but
sure.
I mean Taylor Moore makes sense.
Taylor Moore coming off of a holiday yesterday. It's gonna be tough to back Taylor Moore this week. Vince Whaley, Jagus, McNeely. Yeah. So, it is interesting. I think you should look at the back end to see if there are some discrepancies where, guys draw a strong straight line through. These are probably some of the guys. And you look, corresponding. Toasty just got put in the field. This will update with his DraftKings salary, but there's, not surprising that these guys are mostly the bottom of the board from a DraftKings salary standpoint too. So, all right, get some approach stuff. What else? Anything else?
I think it's good. Let's mash it together. See what we got.
I like that about you. Just keep it nice and tight.
I just want to see. Yeah, I'm always just anxious to see who the model likes. All right, creating a mixed. What's our most important stats?
Oh, I'm gonna have all my stuff in here. I did not take anything out again. That's my bad. You guys get a view to all the other stuff that's in here. Course history, good drives, edge of the fairway. Do the same thing. It's that Bermuda scrambling, some Bermuda putting, rolling putting last 50, some par 4 scoring. It's in here. Corollary courses. We can touch on that.
In?
Let's leave it in.
Let's leave it.
This is
hover over the eye. I want to see what you picked there.
I don't know why it doesn't have it.
Oh, it won't say what courses in that spot.
Sedgefields, Colonial, Harbortown, and Seaside, RSM, where we just were for a couple months ago. So again, shorter positional courses, almost all Bermuda as well. Although I just went tee to greens. It's just basically who's playing well. Who's played well historically, and these guys go to those courses.
Who's putting themselves in good positions to score in courses like that? So,
yeah. All right, so let's mess with this a little bit.
Yeah, you put the percentages however you want here. I don't know exactly what I would upweight.
Okay.
I hate to upweight the one that we just decided to throw in at the end from a previous model, but obviously tee to green is very important.
Yeah, no, I get it. Good drives.
Good drive percentage. Let's make that 25.
Yeah, we don't want this to be too much, actually, right? We probably want this to be
15.
Okay.
Make good drive percentage 30. Oh, wow.
Okay.
Oh, no, we're doing 2.5s at this point, huh?
Yeah, getting real wonky. Give us a little bit, and I'll give these guys each a little bit extra. Okay.
All right, a little more to fairway and overall proximity.
Yeah,
we'll save this. If you are a member and you want to go find this one under the extra reports, we're going to name it Sony Betting Show. It is saved under the expert reports, which means you can go look at it whenever you want. And number one in our model, because we don't have injury and rust factors built into this.
Yeah.
Little Danny Berger. Danny B, number one. Luke Clanton, number two. Russell Henley, a guy we love, obviously. 3, Eckroat, who's probably making the card for me, especially after all this. Name keeps popping up. 5 is Brian Harmon, little Brian Harmon. Lucas Glover, Mac Meisner, Keegan, Kitayama, Seamus, Power, and then finally a big name. I guess Keegan's near Keegan and Russell are near the top of the board. But yeah. Corey Connors, one of your favorites, comes in at 11th. And then finally Ben Griffin, rounding out this dirty dozen. Some good names there, some guys I like. I don't know if I can be talked into. There's a couple I don't know if I can bet. I bet Mark Hubbard too much as it is. I don't know if I need to be taking him to win events.
It's true.
Who do you have already in the,
Andrew, I we put them field up on Friday. Typically felt pretty good about my NFL card on Saturday evening. So, my wife falls asleep late Saturday. I open up the rabbit hole, start building out Sony. Hey, I've had some success at Sony. I got to get, seal the deal, start building some models, start messing around and digging into some stuff. And I'm like, dude, I'm just going to bet all the guys that I love to bet all the time because they actually fit even better on this course. And they are I think we built a hell of a model here, because the top 10 of our model here is littered with dudes that I've bet on this week already. Probably my biggest FOMO that I did not bet on because the card's full was Daniel Berger at the top. I did not bet Berger. There's some really nice opening numbers on him. The fall swing was decent. This is like a total Berger track when we think about, prime Berger. And the ball striking, I think, has come back. Now, the putting stuff for Berger has been not quite as good, but also the corollary courses. Harbor Town played well. Colonial, a winner in the past. You can kind of see putting the last 24 popping a little bit. That's really encouraging. So, good Bermuda putter. He's a Southeast guy. Again, this is over the last 12 months. It's not been good, but overall he has been. We saw that before I backed out the time frame, it's been better. You can just see here all the ball striking stuff's really nice on Danny B. So let's see, RSM, one of the corollary courses, Seaside, top 2 last time out. Like I said, played some good golf. Sanderson Farms, very much in the mix in terms of the style of course, 7th. So Berger being near the top is not surprising to me, even though he's not near the top of the betting board. So, dude, I fired on my guys, Andy.
Where's Kim falling here? Mike Kim. He's somebody that popped in my last year model. Just hit search. There we go.
32.
32.
He's the top Kim on the board.
Of the Kims, he is our highest one, above Siwoo, Tom, and Chan. Good drive percentage, a little low. I kind of want to dig in on him. He was higher in my numbers here. I have him 6th using last year's models. Some of his mid-range iron stuff, like I used 150 or 125 to 150, 150 to 75, 75 to 200. I used all 3 of those at low ranges from fairway only. I used driving accuracy, which we just said we don't love, but I did blend it with good drive percentage. So I used 5% of each. And then I looked at just form. I always just like to throw in rolling form, 12 months total. And then approach, 12 months of rolling approach game. So, like we said, some target golf. And then Bermuda putting, a little bit. 2 years of Bermuda putting I put in there as well. So that's what I weighed in mine. And mine was Clanton, Griffin, Henley, Meisner, Hideki at that point, even with the putting in.
Yeah, better on easier courses. Makes sense. Bermuda is nice for him too. Shorter courses, that works out well. I love that this is color coded based off of where you are in relation to field average. So, white would be pretty much field average. Green or anything darker green would be, above tour average. But this is kind of where we're at this week. He's kind of hovering, short irons, wedges, not necessarily his thing. Mid irons, probably a little bit better. Aloha season, small sample, it's just 12 months, but I get it. 12 rounds here. Again, around the green, we put it in a little bit, but
it's been putting better.
You've been putting much better.
That was something I complained about on the whatever swing season, fall swing event I watched a lot of. He was constantly on my screen, just missing putts. And it was maddening because he was playing well. I want to say it was Sanderson because he ended up putting a little better at Black Desert, but then remember, he put a couple balls out into the fucking lava fields. And you're going to struggle when you're out there. And then it ended up finishing the swing season pretty nice. Shriners there, Worldwide Tech, Mayakoba. That's Bermuda, right? It's Mexico. Yeah. So some decent results at the end of the swing season for him. It's probably gonna be Eckroat, Griffin, Mike Kim. He's making it.
Eckroat, Griffin. What's the number on Griffin? 40s?
It was like 50.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I see 50s. Okay. I see 50 on Griffin. That's good. It's a nice little mid range area. There's just a lot of guys in that like 30 to 60 range that I think that could be, I'd say model darlings, but guys that make a ton of sense in that range price wise. So I can't not bet Russell Henley and Keegan Bradley. Those are guys that I bet all the time.
I just can't at 15 to 1. He's like 15, 16 to 1 for Henley. I can't do that in a essentially a full size field for him. I love him. not going to happen for me this week. He's going to be great tee to green. Just going to lose this tournament. So
yeah, I bet him at 22.
I wish you the best of luck with that.
Yeah, I know. Well, hey, they both aren't going to win. I promise you that. But I got Henley at 22. I got Keegs at 25. I wish I would have. I wanted that to be a little bit longer. Now there's some longer numbers out there, 28 or so. Was never not betting those guys. I'm also all the way in on what I think is. I mean, again, this is so weird to say. It's golf outright betting. This is a guy who's never won a golf tournament. And I'm going to say I cannot believe Luke Clanton was available at 40. It's just too big of a number for this kid. I think he's absolutely legit. The irons, I mean, let's look at the Luke Clanton player page. Tallahassee right now, right? He's a Florida State kid. So
it's not him.
No, it's definitely not him.
Oh God. Love the photo. Damn it. I'm adding one. So when I pulled up my last year model, he was number one. And it's 34 at Bookmaker. If I can go find something better, if I can find a 40, I might have a foursome.
I mean, Bermuda putting is awesome. Scoring conditions, easy, very easy, or whatever. He's in the mix. There's just right here. These are dark green. The sample's smaller. The bars are shorter because it's not hitting
30 rounds. It's not.
I know it's
5.
It's a small. Yeah, it's true. But I mean, look at this. Look at his ball striking. Every week he tees up, tee to green. Just distance and accuracy off the tee, and the approach game is dynamite. Around the green's not great, but again, it's the same premise of a dialed-in Victor Hovland. Like if you're painting fairways and dialed in with your irons, you're not having to scramble too much. And he's a good Bermuda grass putter. So I think these kids come out ready to go more so than ever now. And like we saw, didn't see much in the
4
fall.
top 10 in the second half of the year.
He's just really good. I think he's just really good. So 40 I thought was way too high for a guy. I just thought he was going to be like 28 or so. And I was going to have to make a decision because I knew I wouldn't want to fire on 3 guys south of 30. So Clanton 40 for sure. Also with you on Eckroat. Couldn't not bet the Eckgoat, and just played well in corollary courses. I think I ran a strokes gain short courses. So like very short courses over the last 2 years. Eckroat's third in that model on short courses. Has played corollary courses nicely as well. You can see, better when the test is a little bit softer, better when the course is a little bit shorter, right? It's a pretty clear line here of what Eckroat can do. Played well, PGA National, winning that last year. Again, not like a comp course per se, but like it's a place where like wind can be problematic, and we might be expecting that this week. So, and look at these, mid-iron stuff is just
dark green in the middle again.
Dark green in the middle is just awesome. Ball striking numbers all trending up. Nothing but green on off the tee and approach. Should love to see. Same premise you can see here. We're fading some of the around the green stuff here, but putter's getting better too. So just in the mix all the time. So hard to stay off of Eckroat.
Yeah, it's worth going and looking at his rounds at Worldwide Tech because, that's not a shot link course. We don't have full data, but
true.
I kind of want to go look and see just, you're only going to get surface level data, but you can go find, how did he putt that week? Obviously well enough to win, but I kind of want to see how his putting looked that week, his short game. And as you mentioned with around the green, sometimes a grain of salt when you were looking at around the green for something that is, 2 or 4 rounds for some of these samples for one tournament. Where it's like, did he just hit a ton of greens? Obviously it was a top 20 finish at the Century. He just hit a ton of greens and only had, maybe his around the green sample size was like 5 shots, and one of them was just an absolute stinker.
Yep.
Sometimes that can really drag you down. At the same time, people who have really high around the green for a small sample, what if 10 shots all week where they were from around the green and one of them went in, he sunk a 50-yarder.
Yeah.
It just really screws with your SGs.
Super noisy. I also went to the window on a 90-1 Michael Thor Bjornsson, which probably won't surprise you either. Took the 90 and I took 6 positions on the each way. I thought it would be too big of a number. Again, the kid hits in a mile and straight off the tee. This is not a course that I think long-term would be a course that would profile for him. But we saw he was top of the board. We look at this fairway proximity range. Thor was at the very top of that range, or top of that of the model. So, yeah, just again, he's a great putter as well. So it's a guy, if he's dialed in a little bit with those wedges, he is going to give himself a lot of birdie looks, and will make them at a higher rate than most. So further down in the model, you can see here he's not getting any credit for corollary courses or short game because he doesn't have any enough Bermuda rounds here tracks, so he's going to be buried. But the things the approach stuff we were looking away, he's popping nicely in. So I like Thor quite a bit. So that's my card. I thought it was going to be the card. Say these are some of my favorite guys to bet on. Playing the hits for the Sony at a place that I've got tickled the top of the board quite often. It's just the FOMO of not having your guys that you back all the time is something I couldn't stand this week, Andy. So I played the hits.
No real bombs though, huh? I have Michael Kim
90s. I mean, it's not 100 plus.
All right. Bomb needs to be triple digit in a full field.
That's fair. I could have played the 100, but I took the each way in 90 and took the positions. So that's fair.
Yeah. All right. I'm on Michael Kim. That's going to be 115. The only other bomb I could make a case for would be a young Canadian from Thornhill, Ontario. Swing season had some success. Played well at the Procore, which is the old. What was the Napa one called?
It was the
Fortinet, which became the Procore top 5 there. Someone who has played better on Bermuda. Someone who does have some pretty strong rounds through the middle proximity, and his name is Ben Silverman. There he is. You found him. Yep. He's going to be a nice big number. I'm probably, like 150, 200. This is a course where I'm fine taking a bomb or two, and he feels like somebody who could score in bunches here. He has played well in comp courses, and like I said, the middle of the approach range looks pretty good for me here.
Yeah, it looks nice. Green everywhere, but better.
Just overall a good approach player. So
yep,
need him to play well, putt well here, and I think he can play. So maybe he's a top 20 bet as well. I'm gonna write that down. Silverman top 20. So don't forget.
Yeah, 170 in the outright market currently on FanDuel. No, Caesars 175.
There you go.
There you go. Best price. Caesars almost never the best price in golf. So there you go. Yeah, this is all fine. Yeah, I like the finishing position call out too. I mean, he's just not killing himself. Not really threatening the top of the board outside of the Procore, but just making cuts, cashing checks. So hard to hate that. I think Mac Messner. Yeah, he's there's a lot of stuff in the model. Like if you look at this, he's again another approach darling here. Tee to green's nice on the corollary courses. Short game, like 7th in the model.
I didn't even look at this too. He tied for 18th last year at Sony. Silverman was. So he did play well here last year.
Okay.
Suppose I can just type in Sony.
Yeah, Mac 115 on Chris. So that's another bomb-ish there. But yeah, I mean, I think Seamus Power, we didn't even put course history in here, and I think that would bode very well for Seamus, and he still was top 10 without course history again, and he's not like being driven by corollary courses either. So that's an interesting one to be, again, not quite bomb-ish, but 95 on Chris, 80s out there in the market too. The guy that I thought was going to be a little bit more popular than that. So market's not moving a ton on him. Interesting to see.
Perfect. All right. My card is in. Eckroad, Griffin, Kim, Clanton, Silverman top 20, probably Kim top 22. When I take those bombs, they need a finishing position bet to go with them. They're smaller bets as it is. If you want to play around with this sort of stuff, 30 bones gets you a membership. If you DM me or Ryan, I bet we'll even give you a coupon. Make your first month even cheaper if you're new. If you want to play with all the tools we just played with, you sign up right now. Look at all the on the screen for podcast viewers. Sony, American Express, Farmers, Pebble Beach, Waste Management down in Scottsdale. You can make models for the next 5 tournaments. Essentially, it doesn't go all the way through Waste Management, but we put those fields up on Fridays, the Friday before, so you can sit there and make some extra ones. So take a look at that. Obviously, like I said, $30 a month. It's only $250 for the year, less than $5 a week. If you want to get after it, make some models with us over at the Rabbit Hole. I'm on Twitter at AndyMSFW. He's RY Noonan. Follow Betsperts Golf on Twitter as well. Just Betsperts Golf on everything. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. That helps us a bunch. Just hit that little button. It's pretty easy. Look, here's a little graphic. Oh, it turned red. It went from red to gray, and you're subscribed. That helps us out a ton. If you watched and enjoyed this, you took anything away, or even if you didn't and you feel bad for us, hit the thumbs up. It helps us well. And we'll catch you next week on the West Coast, guys. The Hawaii swing. Aloha to the Hawaiian swing 1 week, and then the next week we're saying aloha. So that's it for it. We will head to California next week. Check you guys then.